Envision an illicit voyage, a crime against humanity that marked the closing chapters of an era steeped in profound injustice. This voyage was no ordinary journey, but one of the last recorded slave ships to cross the Atlantic, its human cargo a poignant reminder of a dark past. Our narrative begins in the early 16th century, when the first enslaved Africans were forcibly transported across the Atlantic Ocean to work in the plantations of the Americas. This brutal system of human trafficking, known as the transatlantic slave trade, lasted for more than 3 centuries. It was a time when human lives were commodified, their worth measured not in their skills, their dreams, or their potential, but in their ability to endure back-breaking labor under the harshest conditions. Millions of African men, women, and children were torn from their families, their cultures, and their homelands to be sold as chattel in distant lands. In the late 18th century, voices of dissent began to rise. Abolitionist movements gained momentum, challenging the moral, economic, and political justifications for slavery. Yet the trade in human lives continued. Fast forward to the mid-19th century, when the tide was beginning to turn. The United Kingdom had outlawed the slave trade in 1807, and by 1850, the United States had followed suit. Yet, despite these prohibitions, clandestine voyages continued, as unscrupulous traders sought to profit from the continued demand for enslaved labor. One of these voyages was that of the Clotilda, perhaps the last known slave ship to cross the Atlantic. In 1860, 55 years after the United States had officially banned the transatlantic slave trade, the Clotilda embarked on its perilous journey, carrying more than 100 captured Africans to the shores of Alabama. Their journey was one of unimaginable hardship and loss, a final testament to the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade. Yet, the story of the Clotilda is not just a tale of suffering, but also one of survival and resilience. The descendants of the Clotilda's human cargo have kept their ancestors' memories alive, preserving a rich cultural heritage that continues to resonate in the present day. Their history serves as a stark reminder of the inhumanity of the slave trade and the enduring strength of the human spirit. In conclusion, the story of the last slave ships is a powerful testament to a dark chapter in human history. It serves as a reminder of the profound injustices inflicted upon millions of African men, women, and children, and of the resilience and strength that enabled them to survive and preserve their cultural heritage. The history of the last slave ships underscores the importance of confronting the past, however painful, in order to understand the present and shape a more just and inclusive future. For while the transatlantic slave trade may have ended over a century ago, its legacy continues to shape societies on both sides of the Atlantic. As we reflect on this poignant history, let it serve as a call to action, a reminder that the fight against injustice, inequality, and dehumanization is far from over. And as we remember the last slave ships, let us honor the memory of those who endured, survived, and ultimately prevailed against the brutal system of slavery.